Joining us right now is Mr. Emmanuel Ayegbonam, who is a legal practitioner, a political historian, and also the director for African Center for Parliamentary and Constitutional Studies. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you so much, Maya.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah.
Well, you have seen the supplementary elections concluded, and we're already seeing it. Very rarely have we seen at the end of this conclusion opponents calling the winners to congratulate them. What we've heard most of them say is that they will be going to court. As a legal practitioner, what do you think some of the grounds are that they will be presenting before the tribunals, you know, to try to obtain the victory of the opponent, so to speak?
Before going to the legal angle,
yes,
it will be crucial anyway to bear this in mind, that the result of every national election tells us a lot, a very important story about the country in question. Mm-hmm. Beyond who won and who voted, it also makes us learn whether the public institution have earned public trust. So the basic issue is you have had election. When we talk of institutions, we talk of what? Cognitive, normative, and regulatory structures and activities that provide stability and order for human social behavior. So this social angle must be appreciated before going to court. In the context where we are at the moment, do we have a law that provides for what? Inconclusive election. This is the first critical question every person will ask.
Let's explore that. Yes, let's explore that, because let's explore that as a second leg of our discussion. Let's look at the first leg, which is the elections have been concluded now. They're going to the tribunals. Thankfully, they have enough faith in the court and the judiciary to approach the tribunals. We've heard a lot of them tell their followers to calm down. This will be challenged in court. Do not worry. It shows some confidence.
Yeah, that's basically that's the big.
What do you think their major grounds, from what you have seen and heard in the elections, in terms of the conduct and the processes? What do you think the major grounds will be? Because remember that what our laws are going to be requiring them to prove is substantial non-compliance. Isn't that right?
Well, substantial non-compliance depends on the way you see it. Mm-hmm. And the way, because the issue now is that we have left the main umpire, being the INEC now. We are moving to the second umpire, now being the tribunals or the courts. So we are leaving the first line of action from voting and counting of votes to courts now. And when you go to court, the prayer you bring before the court by your pleadings and evidences before the court will now lead the tribunal to look at what you have presented and from there make a judgment. So the issues at stake, some of them may go in how did you comply? Registered voters, those who voted, card reader and the rest of them. Then the issue of intimidation and vote buying, as well as other issues that may emerge. Basically, some of the elections were now fought in one local government after the entire state has been captured. Then there are other areas where we have issues of violence. And the issue in election, which we also have to bear in mind, is that it's now a global event, because you have observers and the rest of them. When all these happen, this issue of the umpire assuming now the role of declaring election inconclusive or the rest, without consultation, and then the political parties as well, what were their own contribution? Initially, we were saying, and we have said that 90-something political parties is really abnormal by every estimation for what we have had. Apart from the SDP and maybe AA and YPP, have we seen any of these briefcase political parties make even a House of Assembly election? Why will we expend public time and money on them? And what were the criteria, actually, of registering 90-something political parties, if we are to go by what the basic guidelines are? So these are the issues that now comes up, and then basically, so many questions must go. Yes, there may be a House of Assembly election, which went with what? A governorship election. I may have my case that because this happened on the same polling unit with this, it may give me a case. Just like the presidential election, the National Assembly election may also have issues that these are the particular number of voters who voted at this, and then did you return them equally at the same polling unit? There are so many issues that may come up, and then when we equally move to the courts, I have always said 1983 was peculiar in our electoral laws and processes. Anambra State then, old Anambra State and old Ondo State, Mwobodo and Ono, and the Mobereowo and Ajasi. Within 1 week, the then Supreme Court had 3 justices moving from one end to the other over the issue of what? Electoral malpractice. In one area, all of them moved together. In the other, this other said no, that Mwobodo's case was not proved what? Beyond reasonable doubt. So these are the technicalities that will come about, and then we must equally go back anyway to see where the judiciary has come on what? Substantial justice. Rivers State presented a case that after PDP primaries, you had a candidate, Amechi. All of a sudden, we heard the metaphor of K-leg, and somebody who was not a part of the primaries emerged as PDP candidate. Not only that, the legal issues between the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court, after Aderume's case, which is Ugu and INEC, had a very stormy or worrisome setting. That public holidays were declared 2 days to the election. Then the Supreme Court now felt, well, if it has come to this level, rather than that the court will be adjudged to fine, then it is the party that contests the election. 2 questions are involved. If you were not a part of the primaries, how did you emerge? Today, it leads to one of the landmark cases we have seen so far. So as we go on, we will learn and then probably align by amending the Electoral Act. But we will go back every 4 years to the same issue. It's a very
valid question to ask. I mean, you are hoping that part of what will happen in the courts is that we will be strengthening the process and learning from what the judgments that will come out of the tribunals will be. But then the question for some people is, I mean, you heard Mr. I don't know if you listened to him, Dr. Okey Ikechukwu, say that it was seen that our democratic process is in reverse gear. Do you agree with him?
Yes, to a large extent, really. And I have always said this, and I keep saying that. If we go back to the tribunals now, it is the regular courts that we suffer. Because these same judges are the same set of judges you are using for what? For the tribunals.
Thankfully, the tribunals have a period within which they must sit and finish their cases.
Some of the 2015 cases are yet to be decided.
Is that right?
Yes, and then the party primaries, yes. The party primaries which you have just seen through, some of them are still ongoing within the same courts, and the court, for Christ's sake, is human. If we see the volume of what they go through, I had an instance in Federal High Court where within the court list then had about 22 cases from primaries of the political parties, among the regular cases that will last up to 3 p.m. on daily basis. So it has come to a point to look at the option of having a constitutional court in Nigeria, specialized constitutional court. These are the general issues that we must also grapple with.
Well, but I mean, looking at what is happening in the courts is another kettle of fish.
Yes.
Sadly, I had a matter in court and, saw how the courts in Nigeria operate, and they are far from what you see on TV when you watch the soap operas and things of the sort. I mean, a case where judges are taking notes manually of everything that is transpiring in court, leaves a lot to be desired. And we're wondering, is there no faster way or more efficient way, so to speak, of conducting matters? This is definitely going to take up all the time. If judges have to take everything in longhand, court processes and things of the sort. You don't think so?
All habits hardly die easy, but we have tried to transit. But along the line, anyway, this is another critical area where we will think of. But basically, there are provisions of recorders and the rest, but the courts seem to be aligned to the old setting. And then there are issues of, if you don't really do it that way, there may be some lacunas, or if you cannot, let's see, not every court clerk or secretary may be sincere. So these are the questions that must be borne in mind.
Oh, there's stenographers. I mean, there were 1,000,001 reasons why, you know, we cannot transit to something new. But as I said, that is matter for another day. I think when the focus is on the judiciary and why it is so slow and maybe how to reform the judiciary, then we can bring up
we have tried front loading and the rest of them. We have reviewed the rules, but the snail speed really is still palpable. I am equally a victim. Tomorrow I'm going back there again. I have been there for how many years over a piracy issue. It's not been easy or smiling anyway, but whichever way it goes, it is our country, and we have to look at our basic institutions and culture that have led to this. Just like we are talking about the election issues. We've seen the military, a part of the election. We've seen EFCC and the rest of them. And I have always asked, there are civilized democracies like Britain and the United States. The equivalent of INEC chairman is hardly heard anywhere. And the elections are even conducted by local government, more or less.
Exactly.
So these are the basic issues. You must conduct election, then come down to Abuja to call the results. And in the course of that, you leave a lot you raise a lot of questions. So these are the issues. Can't we, from FEDICO to NEC, INEC and the rest, be able to have an independent setting? I keep saying it. Uwe's report was perfect by every estimation. To take away the institution, this independent institution, from a president who also will send the election. These are the basic issues contained in that report. Yar'Adua then agreed that the process that brought him on board has some shortcomings or drawbacks. But basically, expecting him to adopt that, he didn't do that. Jonathan didn't do the same, and now we have continued with the same over a change mantra that has brought us now, shown us that we have not really changed, that we are still back where we are years back, that the electoral process still has a lot of cause for re-engineering and rethinking.